Hey everybody. So I wanted to pick up where I left off last time. It's been now 11 days since I made that last video about the Silent Spring. And 11 days we had like 3 days in a row with no chemtrails. I don't know why that was. Where then we had like 4 days in a row where it was in the 60s. We had some nice springtime rain. Yesterday was in the high 60s. Today they're talking about 80. Well, it's been 11 days, and basically the buds and the trees have still done nothing. Yes, the buds are finally coming out on a lot of the trees, but they are so shriveled up looking and so small. And they should be exploding now with this weather. These leaves should almost, half the trees should be fully foliated, and the other half should be the buds should be starting to open. And I know, we had kind of some late storms and everything, and that's the people I talk to around here. These people are so willing, their cognitive dissonance just will not allow them to see what's right in front of their face. That something is drastically, seriously wrong with the trees. And I am seeing a few birds around, so that's good since last time I talked to you guys. But not the full bird force that should be. I'm also very worried about the birds. There are some around now, so I feel a little better about the birds. And I do see some buds on the trees, but they just aren't growing. It's frightening. And I think eventually we're going to have leaves because the trees do have buds, but those buds, they are growing so slow and not opening. It's distressing, to say the least. We're looking at. It looks like it should have looked a month ago, when the buds just start coming out. I mean, look at these tree lines. You can barely see, when the buds come out, they look red, and then they start to transition into green. They still look like wintertime, if you look close. And if you get up close to the trees, you can see that there are buds starting. But the people their cognitive dissonance, and you can see the chemtrailers have been out now, and, they've got that nice milky haze. And I've noticed now, when I look at the chemtrailers, most of the time you can't see a plane. Now, I don't have a good zoom thing. I don't even have binoculars anymore. But, I watch them, and they'll be what looks to be like they're way up high, which I'm not sure they are anymore. If you guys have been following some of the stuff about the chemtrails, that they're saying they're lower and they're drones or they're holographs. We don't even know what they are. The planes look like there are no windows in them. So, and it does look like that they're low. So they're like small little pictures, cartoon little planes, and they're a lot lower. But for somehow or another, they're spraying this stuff. I don't think a lot of them are big tanker planes full of thousands of gallons of spray, but something's happening, obviously. They're aerosoling the sky somehow or another. And it's killing everything. It's got to be... now, last time... But, last time I talked to you guys, I was telling you guys I was going to go talk to some of my maple syrup producing friends. And I ran into one of them, out and about one day, and a good friend of mine, and I asked him how his sugaring went. And he said, he had a great year, but we were starting to talk, and we talked about the late spring and everything, and he's actually, I mentioned chemtrails, and he's aware of them. So he said, oh yeah, I saw him the other day. So he's aware of it. But then when I started talking about the tree buds and everything, well, he said, now normally when the maple trees are running, which means the sap is flowing, they will run till the buds come out. And once they start budding, then the sap, at the very end, the sap takes on a different taste, and that's what they call commercial grade. They make commercial grade syrup out of that, which has a funny taste. You don't really want to put it on your pancakes, but they can sell it, and I think they refine it somehow, and they use that stuff as maple flavoring. But the trees, the sap runs basically till the buds pop, and they've done their thing, and then the leaves open, and they can boil. They can draw sap off those trees basically till the buds come out. Well, I've got two great big sugar maples out in front of my trailer up there, and those buds have just barely shown that they're even alive. You can hardly even see them. Well, so I was talking to my buddy there, and he said, well, what was weird was that they stopped running all of a sudden. The sap stopped running. And, which is unusual. Like I say, the buds were far from being out. I guess he said they stopped running several weeks ago, the trees, but they were nowhere near budding. And so I started talking to him about aluminum and the roots and everything, and I think he legitimately said he didn't have time to talk. I don't think he was trying to blow me off, and because of cognitive dissonance, he had his daughter in the car and stuff. But it's very weird. Now I think there's something happened to the soil that's inhibiting the roots from gathering the moisture in. And for some reason, he said the maples were running really good, and he made a lot of syrup, but that they stopped. Very weirdly, they stopped running at a certain point, and they just shut right off, and he didn't get a drop of sap after that, and that was long before the buds ever came out, which is different. Now, like I say, normally that sap will run till the buds are open, and I noticed the maples are really far behind, even more than the other trees, because the sugar maples are pretty early to open their leaves. The red maples usually open first, and then the sugar maples. But they're still pretty early. They're still before the oaks and some of the other, and the beeches and stuff. But a lot of times the ashes will be the first ones that'll pop their leaves. Like I say, none of the trees have any leaves out yet. Normally by the first week of May, on a late year, maybe the second week of May, it'll be before, and everything will be fully open and foliated by the second week of May. And on an early year, it'll be early May. These trees have a long ways to go, and it's not like that's the first time we've had a late winter. I mean, it happens all the time up here. But when you get warm weather like this, these buds should just be exploding. You should be almost able to watch the leaves open in front of your eyes when things are happening normally. And even though spring looked a little weak, the color of the leaves last spring was a little pale compared to that nice vibrant pop we used to get. But they opened up on time, and they basically seemed normal. Just a little kind of peaked and not real vibrant the way they should have been, the way it used to be. But this year is it's ridiculous. And it's heartbreaking. I mean, this is a time of year when, you should be just really excited because spring's here. And birds are singing, and the fish are going to be biting, and all that stuff. And I can't help but almost, just being sad every time. I was talking to Audrey about it, and she's like, well, you can't focus on the negative, and, that's letting Satan get the best of you and everything. But how can you not focus on it? The only way I'm going to ignore it, the only way I can not focus off is be to go inside and not look at it. And I don't do stuff inside. I'm outside all the time, and every place I look, I see a tree that should have leaves on it that looks dead. I can't. It's impossible to ignore. And the people with the cognitive dissonance, even up here in Vermont, there's, most people still have like their 9-to-5 job, and there's a lot of people who do work outside, and they just think, well, this was a rough winter. It's like, you spend your life in the woods like me, and you work outside like me. You can't see how wrong this is. You can't see how wrong it is, and I'm sure some of them do, but they have to just explain it away with, oh, well, it's been kind of cold at night. Yeah, it's always cold at night in the spring. Doesn't matter. And I don't know. It's just the cognitive dissonance is so strong in people. And I'm not even talking about flat Earth or Satan worship or any of the things that you really wouldn't expect the people who were enslaved by the world to understand until they've gone through some waking up process. This is you know, this is trees. Everybody should know about trees and springtime and birds. But the cognitive dissonance, they just can't, their brains won't let them understand that something is killing the trees or something is making the trees. They have to explain it in some kind of quote unquote normal way, but there is no way to explain this normally. You know, these trees are hurting. Something is wrong. But they can't grasp, and you know, for them to grasp that, they would have to start thinking of why. It's just, you know, it's around here. I do run into people who are aware of chemtrailing when I bring it up, but that's as far as it goes, and they don't really think about it. It's like, oh yeah, they chemtrail, but they don't seem upset by it. They don't seem like they understand how bad it is. You know, they don't even, you know, they might kind of understand intellectually that they're spraying up there, but then, you know, if I was like to point out these clouds up here as being chem clouds, they wouldn't understand that. You know, the only thing they know about chemtrailing is if they see a tic-tac-toe pattern in the sky. But I don't know. It really. I mean, I guess I'm just venting here. But any of you guys that live with nature or know about the woods and things, and I've talked to some people through YouTube who I communicate through comments and stuff, and it's the same in Pennsylvania. The guy Penn Woodsman, I've exchanged comments, and out in Maine, many fish, and they say it's the same there. Penn Woodsman told me he was a month behind down there, and they're ahead of me anyway down. So I don't know if the leaves are out down there like they should be here. But many fish is out in Maine, and he told me it was the same. It was the same out there. No birds, no buds. But I don't know. I just wish spring would get here. It's just wrong to have these warm days and springtime rains, and you look at the tree lines and it looks like it's winter. Anyway, let me know if you guys are if you know wherever you are, if it's the same there. I'm sure it probably is. If you've learned anything about what exactly the mechanism is that's slowing these trees down. I heard somewhere on YouTube, I think it was, that the aluminum inhibits the roots from absorbing moisture, which makes sense. You know, what my buddy told me about the sap stopping with the maple trees, but it ran good for a while, then just stopped. So it's something very, very wrong going on. It's discouraging, and we know we're in the end times, so we know things are going to get bad. But it's just when you actually see the acceleration of how bad everything is getting, and in my life, for me, it's the trees dying. Or if they're not going to be totally dead, there's certainly something very, very wrong with them. And you know, trees. There's not much bigger part of life on this earth than trees. You know, they're basically the lungs of the planet and the oceans. You know, those are like the two biggest things. There's our trees and the oceans. That's it. And you know, land. But as far as like a life force, a biological thing on this realm, on this earth, trees are as big as it gets, except for the ocean. And we know the oceans have major problems. Well, now we're seeing at least in the north, in the deciduous forests here, there's some serious problems with the forests. And people are so hypnotized by the TV and by the world that it doesn't seem to register with them. Oh well, it's a late winter, whatever, it'll be fine. Or it'll be, global warming. Must be because of global warming. Well, didn't you just tell me it was because of the late winter? Well, that's from global warming. Oh, okay. And what causes global warming? Couldn't have anything to do with all this spraying going on. 9 out of 10 days. cloudy, milky skies. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. I wonder if it's the water not being absorbed by the roots from the aluminum, or a combination. I've seen a lot of really compelling evidence for these sun simulators. So, I mean, maybe the sun isn't right. Well, they're not getting the sun anyway because of the milky cloud cover. But I've seen a lot of compelling evidence on YouTube showing that these sun simulators are real. And I wouldn't put anything past these evil fallen angels. They got a lot of tech. They got their technology is so far ahead of what we can even imagine what they have. I don't know. I just don't know. But does keep me certainly, when I see the dead trees, certainly keeps me aware that we are living in some end times, and to stay right with Jesus. So anyway, I'm gonna go see if I can pick some fiddleheads. I got a lot of work to do, but the work's not going anywhere. And the fiddleheads, if you miss them, that's the other thing. The fiddleheads normally I look at April 15th as an average time to think about fiddleheading, and I can usually tell by if it's been a late winter and whether they're going to be late, or if it's been warm whether they're going to be early. And so on a warm spring, I can start looking for fiddleheads, the first week of April, and on a late spring, I'll start looking for them, a week after the 15th, the third week of April. And they'll usually be that, that's when they're, and in a lot of years, April 15th is right around peak fiddleheading. But I went out Saturday, which was the 29th or whatever, 28th, I think, Saturday it was. And I could see where they were, but I looked around, I picked a couple handfuls. So I'm going to go out today. Is the 2nd of May, which is never I've picked fiddleheads this late. And I'm hoping they'll be up even. I was out there on Saturday, and we've had rain, and we had yesterday, ended up warm. It's going to be warm today, so they should be up in full force, at least for round one, for my early spots. I might turn the camera on down there. I did some fiddleheading videos last spring. Alright, this video is getting long. Leave me some comments, you guys. I hope you're well. Jesus bless you all. Stay strong with the Lord. And love you very, very much. See you soon.